Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Warriors fall in. It's time for formation. So today I'm going to be talking about VA loans and the importance behind VA loans. And I've got an expert with me today, Mr. Robert Tolan, who is an Afghanistan war veteran stationed down at Fort Hood as a Cav Scout and had deployed to Afghanistan. So is a combat war veteran. But today he now focuses his entire energy on helping veterans utilize the VA home loan. So Robert, I really appreciate you joining me on the Morning Formation today.
Well, thank you. No, I'm super happy to be here.
Listen, man, it's the honors all on this end of the mic and camera. You know, I just want to start out by talking about your transition to the civilian life, which I think for some folks can be the most challenging part. But in your opinion and in your experiences, what was the most challenging part of transitioning out of the military to the civilian life, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think, my transition was probably a little bit different than most. And what I mean by that is it was probably a little bit easier because I started a nonprofit when I was 16, a veteran nonprofit. And so when I was transitioning out, I had the support of that nonprofit, but we still had the struggle, or I still had the struggles of going from that very, disciplined, waking up, doing PT in the morning and, people just following orders properly, and then, going into the civilian world and having a job where people, just don't really respect higher ups, like managers and stuff like that. So I feel like that was kind of like my transition. I also refused to think that anything was ever wrong with me. I was just like, oh, I have plenty of support. I don't need help. I'm going to focus on helping others. And, that's a whole different story. But we had, when the whole Afghanistan withdrawal happened, I had a major episode take place and I finally had to seek help. But we're talking years and years later of finally going to do that. But I think one of my big issues with my transitioning out is everyone kind of saw me as the leader of a veteran nonprofit. And so everyone, when they had issues, was coming to me and asking for help. And I was sending them to get the help, but then I was refusing to go because I had that mindset that I'm not going to take someone else's spot. I want to get that filled with another veteran. And it took me until 2023. I got out of active duty in 2015. So it took till 2023 for me to finally go, you know what? I need to finally get to these programs, get to this retreat that was one of the best retreats I've ever been on, and actually focus on myself for a little bit. And so there was just like that long transition period where I thought everything was fine. And then boom, it just struck pretty hard.
Yeah, man. I think we all go through that process, or at least most of us do. I know I did. When I got out, I took all my gear, anything that reminded me of the military, and I just shoved it in a tote and shoved it as far back in the attic as I could. As a matter of fact, when I went through a divorce, I took my Class A's and my deserts and everything and just literally threw them in the dumpster because I just wanted to move on, man. And, and I wanted not to be looked at differently than everybody else. But at the end of the day, here I am, back at the table again, looking to help others, and I think it helps me cope. Do you feel like that's kind of your case too? Like reaching back and helping veterans sort of gives you a little bit of soul fulfillment, a little bit of coping mechanism?
Yes, I tell people that the reason I do so much, because I'm now running 4 nonprofits right now, and they're always like asking me like, why do you do all this plus your day job? And I'm always like, well, it's because I'm the most selfish person in the world. It helps me. It really does, and it's something that I'm going to always continue to do, even if I scale back on the amount of work I want to do. I'm never going to give it up all the way, if that makes sense. And it's because it does help me. It helps me cope when I see the emotions of these veterans or I see them get to the other side. Like we just had our big veteran angel tree program, and seeing those veterans' faces who are not doing well, but we were able to go in there and give them, grocery gift cards so they can buy Christmas dinner, or we bought gifts for their kids, and that's going to be the only gifts that those kids get. Like that makes me feel good. I love seeing the reactions on their face, and it helps.
And with that being said, Robert, what overall would you say specifically inspired you to start focusing on helping veterans with specifically
Sure.
VA loans? Like, can you walk us through your journey into the space you're in now?
Yeah, so when I got out of active duty, I actually was a winemaker. I made wine. I operated a vineyard for a local mom and pop shop. I loved it. It was a very hardworking, laborious job, but very rewarding, especially when it comes to on the money side as well. And of course, it's alcohol. So when the VA always asks like, "Do you drink?" and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but
Right.
I get paid to do it. So is it really drinking?" Like, you know. So what happened is I went to go purchase my first home, and I will name the company, but it's one of the largest VA companies out there that we all probably have heard of. They sponsor, a few stadiums on bases and stuff, but totally got screwed over. And I started to study the VA loan at that point. And so I studied and studied because then people were coming to me asking questions because of the nonprofits. Because my first nonprofit, it's called Welcome Home Military Heroes. So sometimes people think that we're doing stuff to get veterans to purchase homes, which we're not. But people were coming to ask me questions. So I studied it, was continuing to making wine, and then this company learned about me doing this, and so they actually started sending someone to really just trying to get me. And at first I was like, no, you guys are just trying to profit off veterans. I can't stand that. Like, how dare you make money off vets? It's just a huge scam. Well, finally, I just started listening to him, realized that he was an Army combat vet, and he started showing up to all my nonprofit stuff. And so I finally was like, you know what? I'll make the jump because my mom's in title and escrow. So she's kind of in the real estate side of things. And I'm like, well, if I need help, my mom can be there to help guide me in a certain direction. And so I just jumped full force into it in April 2021. I am with a different company now, but I've realized that there's a major, major lack of education when it comes to, in my opinion, one of the best benefits that we get. Yes, the getting disability rating is great. Yes, going to healthcare is great, but none of those really set you up for great financial success in the future. Yeah, disability rating, especially if you 100%, it's going to help. But like we're talking like building equity over time and starting real estate investing, if that's the route you want to take, you can do all of that. And I wish I was taught that while I was in the military so I could take advantage of the VA loan while I was in. And so to me, it's about education. That's my number one focus. Yes, I can do the loan, but my main concern is that you're not getting screwed over by another lender, someone who's just trying to make money, or they tell you that you're denied when in reality you shouldn't be denied because there's extra rules on top of VA loans. So it's like, yeah, they added extra rules, but you actually still qualify. You just need to go ask a different company. You need to go to someone who actually specializes in VA, because we're going to tell you if you qualify, because of, or if you don't qualify because that's what the VA is telling you, or if that's what that individual company is telling you. So it's just education. And that's what it comes down to. Like I teach it once a month and in person, and another one also over Zoom. And I just love it. I just love helping. And the other reason I got out the wine side too is because I was like, I need to do more with veterans. There's not a lot of veterans in the wine community, like very, very little. There's a little bit more in the last 5 years, at least locally. To me, like EOD sellers, obviously by the name of that, that's veteran. But other
Right.
than that, there's really no one. And so I kind of didn't feel I need to move over to the veteran side is what I want to do. I just want to focus on vets.
So let me get this straight. So someone goes to a lender, they go and utilize the VA loan, and
Uh-huh.
then just to check everything off to make sure that there's quality assurance, quality control, they would take that information to you, and then you would make sure that everything is, I guess, optimal and maximized to its fullest.
Correct. Even in my classes, I tell veterans and their families, I say, hey, even if I can't do this, so I'm only licensed in California right now, but I teach my Zoom class, I get people from all over the country. I tell them I can still be a third party. I'm not charging you a dime, nothing. I want to make sure that you're not getting screwed over. I'll look over your loan estimate. I'll make sure there's not junk fees in there. If there is, I want to let you know about it. If you think it's a junk fee, I could probably tell you, no, that's normal. That's going to be on every loan application. That's part of the buying process. I will still be there for you. I'm not going to charge you a dime. I don't charge a dime for the classes. If I do, the only time I ever make money is if the loan closes and the veterans don't pay me at all. I broker out loans, so the individual lending company that we end up sending that to will pay me. So the actual veterans don't pay me a dime. And like I said, I don't care if I get paid or not. I'm 100% VA disability, wife's working. All I care about is that you achieve the American dream of home ownership. And doesn't mean I need to get paid for it or not. As long as you get in a home, I'm happy.
That's huge, man. So over the years, would you say approximately how many folks have you helped out within the community?
Oh, wow.
Just estimate.
Well, on my education side, I'm probably over 1,000 veterans that I've taught. That doesn't include their family members and stuff that I've done as well. My first company I worked for, it was a national organization, a newer, up and coming national organization. So I was able to do loans in all 50 states at the time. I am with a mom and pop shop now, and this company's only licensed in California. But actual loan wise, I think I've closed probably were 40-ish or something like that, which most of that's come in the last year or two. It's really hard to get, but most of my business actually comes from real estate agents. And that's, any lender is going to tell you that. It's the agents. And when I first started on the loan side, I only focused on TikTok. And so because I was like, oh, I'm 50 states, I want to do education on TikTok, I blew up. So most of my leads were coming through TikTok. But then when I switched companies, it was only available in California. Almost none of my leads came from here, and no real estate agents really knew me because I would sit literally like behind a camera like this and make videos. And so the last year, and really November of 2023 is when I really started hitting it hard locally. And I work with Vandenberg Space Force Base, with the commander and all that. And a lot of them are starting to send these, people PCSing to Vandenberg to me, which is really cool to build that relationship,
Yeah. I'd say the best part of my job is that I get an opportunity to speak to folks like you, man, that are,
Wow.
you're an inspiration to me. And I can't think of how much time, energy, and sacrifice you've done for our community. So I just want to reiterate again, man, I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. Your online presence is awesome.
Thank you. Yes. And to me, it's not, nowadays people are like, oh, I'm trying to be an influencer because I want as many followers, blah, blah, blah. In my mindset, I'm like, I'm just trying to get the word
Right.
out about benefits to veterans. And the one thing I'm changing in 2025 when it comes to social media is I want to start having, our VSO, on or whatever. Like I'm going to start actually having short little clips about how to file for disability claims or, you know, funeral stuff. I get calls about that all the time because my first nonprofit, my baby nonprofit, I call it, is we do funerals. And so it's like, all right, how do you get the free American flag? How do you contact the military if they have earned that right to have the military come in? Or how do I contact a nonprofit to come in and do the honors if the military doesn't come in? It's just like little
Yeah.
stuff like that I want to make sure we're getting the word about. And not just California, but, it'll be mostly focused probably around the Central Coast because that's where I'm at. But a lot of this stuff is also the same across the country. So it's just educating veterans on stuff.
Some of the stuff that veterans don't understand, like as far as something as simple as how to get my DD 214,
Mm-hmm.
are questions I get asked all the time. Just simple stuff like that.
Yes.
And I'm like, really? Like that's a piece of cake. Like just call this number and then and they'll send it to you. But to go even 2 or 3 tiers deep into that and start talking about like funerals, burial rights, VA loans and things like that, that's a huge asset to our community as far as getting that knowledge. And as far as the VA loan stuff, and what would you say over the years that you've encountered as common like misconceptions that
Mm.
veterans have about the VA loans that you could clear up for us?
Yeah. So the number one, like just right off the top of my head, is the credit score. The VA does not have a minimum credit score. Now, if you have a 400, you're more likely not going to get a home loan.
Right.
Okay. But my record is 517. What we look for or what the VA is looking for is the last 12 to 24 months. Have you been on time? Have you maybe only had one 30-day late, or are you like 7 months to not into not paying something, that's what we're looking for. And so I'm actually going to tell the story because it's a very heartwarming story. And this is a great example why the VA does not set a minimum credit score. We had a veteran came home from deployment. Wife, he was probably 30 or maybe 29 at the time, and so was his wife. She just didn't wake up one day, right next to him. I mean, he's only been home for like 3 or 4 days, and
Man.
died from natural cause. I forget they it ended up being. It wasn't natural cause. It was something. Anyways, something happened. She passed. He did what I think what any of us would do. Buried his head in the sand, and he stopped making payments. He stopped working. He was grieving. And they were high school sweethearts, so like, all he knew was her. And then to be gone for 9 months and come home and she passes in a few days, like I can't even imagine. Well, he finally started getting back up on his feet, and he was a year, like his old job hired him back, and he started making payments. He started getting on a plan, and a year later, his credit score never recovered, but he showed a history of making his payments back, and then we just documented why he stopped making payments. And the underwriters came back and said, deal, we're giving him a house. Like that, he went through hell. We understand. He's back on his feet. He deserves to be in a house and not to be homeless. And there's a lot of stories like that, right? Like you get wounded. You're not focused on your credit card payment or your card payment, or we've all heard the stories about, John Doe, right? Like cheating and taking all the money and maxing out the credit cards. Like the VA knows, like, the VA is run by veterans and people who do care, especially on the loan side of things. It's people who really do care. And so that's why there's no minimum credit score. Some of the other misconceptions is that there is no down payment. You can make a down payment if you want, but you don't have to. And usually I kind of steer away, even if you have the money from down payment, I usually talk to you about buying your interest rate down instead because it goes a lot farther. But there is closing cost. I always get the comment, well, my dad, when he bought his home, didn't have to pay closing costs. I'm like, well, that might be true. That just means the seller covered it. Someone paid it. So either the seller came in and covered that, or like if you bought a brand new home, sometimes builders, if you're buying directly from the builder, sometimes they cover those fees, or they give you a lot higher interest rate to cover those fees. There's ways around it, but no matter what, there's closing costs on a loan. You have, escrow, title, appraisal company, property taxes. You have all of these fees. All these people want paid, so that no matter what, there's closing costs. And so I think that's always my next question is, and I try to hit that up front too when I do my initial phone call, like, hey, do you have the money for closing costs? And if they don't, it doesn't mean you can't get into a loan. I have people all the time who get closing costs covered by sellers, or we try to work around it. And so sometimes they're moving into a home without spending a single dime, which is amazing. Well, they might pay for what we call a home inspection, which is usually a few $100s. But other than that, there's sometimes veterans getting into a home without spending a dime. That's what I did. We got seller to cover closing costs and no down payment. We moved in. The only expenses I had was putting gas in my truck to move from. We were living in a trailer, so we had to move our stuff from that trailer into the home. So that's all I spent.
That was in California?
That's in California, yes. And that was in 2019, so it was right before the housing market went insanely crazy.
Right. And speaking of that, the housing market going extremely crazy, I'm sure that you hear that question all the time, like, well, now is not the right time. Now is not the right time. I'm going to wait until interest rates fall. I'm going to wait until, I mean, I've known guys that have and gals that have sold their houses and have lived in like RVs, just waiting for the right time. What do you ever tackle that question? Like, well, now is not the right time, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. Like, do you ever have to encounter that?
Yeah, all the time. Literally every day, comments on my social media when I make a post or in classes or just walking down the street. People always tell me, especially when they learn I'm in mortgage, they always go, what a terrible time to buy. What a crappy time to be a lender, which honestly, it's not the greatest time to be a lender. The market is not the greatest in the housing community, but there's a few ways to look at that. If you're trying to be a real estate investor, it's probably not the greatest time to buy. Rates are high, all of that. But if you're trying to move into a home, this is going to be your home long term. Yes, it's expensive to get in, but look at a few years ago when rates are in the 2% range. People then were telling me, no, home prices are going up too high. I'm going to wait till home value come down. Well, guess what? Home values aren't going down. They're still going up. They're just not going up as fast. But now rates are 5, 6, 7%. I mean, some companies on VA were hitting 8% earlier this year. Now you definitely can't afford it because rates are so high. So I also tell them, I was like, you need to go back and look at the history of this country. Other than '08 and then one other occasion maybe in the 80s, home prices are going to continue to go up. There's really not a bad time to buy. We always have a saying in the mortgage industry, date the rate, marry the home. So get into the home because especially here in California, my house from 2019 to 2022 went up $150,000. And I bought that home at $395,000. So we went and took that money, we cashed it out, and I paid off all my debt, paid off all my credit cards, my wife's medical, because we were having kids at times, we paid off that stuff, remodeled this our home, and then was a little selfish and went on vacation. So like we had that extra equity to do that. And yes, I went with a little bit higher rate, but now I don't have any debts. We were paying like, I think $2,000 a month in credit card debt. I had a brand new truck that was like almost $1,000 a month. We got rid of all that. So now I'm pocketing that extra money. Getting into a home is very important to not throw your money away. So, I mean, especially here in California, if you're paying $30,000 a month, you might as well just burn the money. You're paying someone else's mortgage, so you might as well go get in a home and start building the equity for yourself because it's going to help not just you, it's going to help your next generation as well.
Yeah, it can be kind of a cumbersome event to buy a home. Like everything you're talking about, like going through all the process and all the headaches and understanding the ins and outs and everything. But the long term, I mean, even where I live at here in Los Angeles, there are people in my neighborhood whose parents bought their houses for, around $50,000 back in like 1960, 1970. And those houses today are well over $1 million homes, and they're passing it on to their kids. And in a sense, when folks talk about life insurance, like that is your life insurance. Like that's your whole term life insurance that you hand off to your next generation, to your kids. And, and not only that, but you live in it your whole life, like the memories and everything. And so it's,
raised your kids in it. Yeah. My grandfather lives, we're not too far from Santa Barbara, and that's where he's living at. And he bought his home after he got out of the Air Force for $16,000. And I bet you if it got appraised, he's probably sitting at, if he's not at $2 million, he's pretty dang close at $2 million, which is insane. I mean, it's Santa Barbara, it is. I mean, it's just like a lot of places down in LA area or even, Orange County. Home prices are through the roof, and it is a scary process. It doesn't matter where you live. More likely, it's going to be the most expensive purchase you ever do. And you're talking about a 30-year mortgage. I mean, yeah, there's other mortgages, but most people are going with 30-year, especially on the VA side. It's nerve-wracking because you got the set payment. You think you're stuck. You have the mindset that, well, if the market just tanks. And I always have to tell them, like, well, if the market tanks, it doesn't matter. I mean, unless you plan on selling right then and there, you're going to be on a fixed rate anyways, because I don't recommend, an adjustable rate. So I'm like, you're on a fixed rate, your mortgage payment's not staying. So as long as you don't sell, if the market does go into the trash in the housing market, but it's scary. And that's what I'm here for. I'm helping to guide you all the way through, even if I'm not your personal lender, even if you're going through a big bank or, another big company. Instead, I want to make sure I help you, guide you. I'm going to tell you the process. And that's what I teach in my class. I teach you the process, what's going on. If you're having issues with your real estate agent, give me a call. I can help with that. So, and then just putting out offers out there is scary as well. So I understand because I did it before I got in this industry, but I always like to tell people, yes, because like your question about, how do you talk to people I already know will come back and say, well, he's a salesman. Of course, he's going to say, buy a home now. No, I'm not a salesman. I hate salesmen. I think most of us vets hate salesmen as well. Like that's all we're always just getting sold stuff or the spam, crap that we're always getting. I can't stand it. If you tell me you want to wait, I'm going to honor that. And I always tell you, this is the fact. these are the options. You as a family need to make the decision. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you one way or the other. You need to take these facts and make a decision on your own.
Yeah, definitely. And for the folks out there, for your average veteran out there that hasn't utilized their VA loan yet or is too afraid to because of the process, what advice would you give them to get the best possible deal? Aside from linking up with you, how do they
Yeah.
get started in that process?
Well, the first thing is, so before I got to this company, I would tell you to shop around to different lending companies. First off, I would go local. I wouldn't go national. I love USAA. I have a credit card through them. I have a bank through them. My auto loan is through them. My homeowner's insurance is through them. I love them. Loan side, not so much. And that goes with all the other big banks. And by the way, when I was talking crap about big banks earlier, I'm not talking about USA, but they're just not the greatest. And I understand the love connection for them. I would
Hmm.
go local. The reason I would go local is because you get to look that lender directly in the face, and you get to wheel and deal with them if you can, because you are seeing them. It's someone that you're going to see in the community. They're going to recommend the best real estate agents to work with or the best homeowners insurance to go with, all that type of stuff. So I would go local. I would also try to go to someone that can broker, because if they're going to broker, like an insurance broker, right? Like you contact them, they're going to shop for the best rate fees for your current situation. It's the same thing in the mortgage side. So instead of contacting and applying at 5 or 6 different places and providing documents for 5 or 6 different places and having conversations with 5 or 6 different people, I would go to the broker side. Plus, if you're in a weird scenario, like it's, it could be you just had a bankruptcy last year or just anything weird going on, a broker is going to be good too, because they're able to look at all the companies that they work with and see where you slip in and fill that in. So that would be my advice. Also, I would ask them a few questions on the lending side. First off, if they tell you to go get your own certificate of eligibility, I would run. The reason is because if they can't pull in a certificate of eligibility for you, they don't do enough VA loans. You do want to go with someone who specializes in VA, because VA is a whole different animal compared to any other home loan. There's lenders that have been in for 20, 25 years that tell me stuff. I'm like, that's not correct, right? That's not even true. And it's nothing really against them. It's the companies that they've worked for. They have their own added on rules that have made them think that's the way the VA is, but it's not. I've had other lenders tell me, I would rather not do VA. It's too difficult. And of course, I'm like, it's the easiest one to do. It's like, I won't lie. Like, even though I can do all home loans, when it comes conventional or like some of these other home loan products out there, I always tell clients, hey, I don't specialize in this. My team does. Like my boss, they all specialize in this. But if you have a question for me, I might have to go seek that information. But if it comes to VA, I got you. I got you covered. I can handle all of that. So you definitely want to go with someone that specializes in VA, especially if they're telling you don't qualify. Contact a VA loan specialist. And there's an amazing website, Veteran Mortgage Advisors. Look them up, because they have listed on there these are lenders that have gone through a several hour, it's way more than several hours, but it's a course that teaches them everything they need to know about VA. They teach, or they have a weekly class together where all the lenders come together, and we learn more, and we learn about weird scenarios that another lender and how they reacted to it, stuff like that. And if there's any changes to the VA, because VA is changing, it's government, right? They're changing every day, coming out with new regulations. So you definitely want to go with the VA specialist. It's like if you're doing if you're trying to reverse mortgage or get a HELOC, you probably want to go to someone who specializes in that to make sure you're getting the best deal.
Yeah, that definitely matters for sure. I mean, hell, even getting a contractor and making sure that contractor understands how City Hall expects things. You want
Yeah,
someone that understands City Hall, right? So it's the same thing
right.
with the VA loans. I mean, you want someone
Uh,
that specializes in that, no doubt about it. And
yes.
I've heard,
And make sure you look at reviews. Like reviews are big. I know I guess people are able to buy reviews and stuff. I know locally here, we don't really deal with that issue. I'm sure that probably down in LA, you guys probably deal with that a little bit more, because you're competing with tens of thousands of lenders. But, look at reviews. And then, like I said, if they're questioning someone or have questions, contact me anyways, because I can look up other stuff, because I can actually look up if they do a lot of VA, because they're always going to tell you yes. Do you do VA? Yes, I do. All right, what's the percentage of the business of VA? Most lender, I saw a stat the other day that said most lenders are only closing 1 or 2 VA loans a year. You might want to go with someone where 90% or maybe even 85% of their business is VA. Someone who's actually dealt with some weird stuff and had to be on the phone with the VA, like, does this work?
Yeah. I have a buddy of mine who's in real estate, and he's a veteran, and he gets really upset when I guess someone that hasn't served before is sporting the flag, and they're saying that they care about veterans and all this stuff, but really, they're really just going for the business. They really don't have any type of, like, I guess, self-fulfillment to truly help veterans like yourself. Just like you're doing right now for our community.
Well, the other issue too is, and I got a lot of flack over this. It wasn't this last Veterans Day. It was 2023. Posted. I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but it was pretty much saying, "Great, because a lot of real estate agents follow me. I mean, a ton." And so I posted, "Great, here comes all the real estate agents saying, Happy Veterans Day and how much they love veterans, but then they won't accept the VA loan offer." And that caused a huge fire. But it helped me with business this year, because then I started getting calls from real estate associations to come in and teach VA and really tell them why they need to be accepting VA loans. My real estate agent classes are 3 hours, and an hour of it is really hammering down why you accept a VA loan. And you need to stop listening to the misinformation that's out there. You need to educate your sellers too, because there's just a lot of misinformation out there. Yes, there has to be pest inspection, but if you're really worried about that, maybe you should take care of that before you possibly sell your home. Obviously there's situations where you just need to get the home sold, but there's ways around that too. The veteran can come in and pay for that. If you really don't want to pay for it, they can pay for it, or you just have the termite company charge escrow. Like, you're like, "Oh, I don't have the 10 grand to tint the house and fix the wood rot." That's fine. Charge escrow. They'll just take it out of your check, your seller's check. So there's just like little things like that real estate agents go, "Appraisals always come in low." Actually, no. On VA, appraisals come in higher than conventional. And the VA is also the only home loan product that allows you to fight the appraisal. So if the appraisal comes in low, you can first go back to the appraiser and say, "Nope, these are our comps. This is why we think it should be at that price." And even if that appraiser still says, "Nope, I don't see it. We're $20,000 lower," you can go back to the VA and say, "Hey, we don't agree with this. Can you override the appraiser?" And 79% of the time, the VA raises that price. So, it's just like stuff like that. And it's just about getting out there and educating. I'm only one person. That's why I always tell veterans, "Hey, I need you to also go out and teach," especially if they're on active duty. "I need your help now. Please go out and tell everyone that you serve with that this is the way the VA loan actually is."
You know what, man? Knowledge is power. That's for sure. And for folks out there, here's a hot take. I mean, there are a lot of flag wavers out there. There are a lot of folks out there that will say we are veteran friendly, we welcome veterans, we're hiring veterans, but then you show up and it's like not exactly what you thought it would be as far as like the actual job or position or the support that's being provided. So finding someone with the authenticity, ideally with the background, someone who's been in the military before. I hate to say that, but that is true. Like, you have to have been there to have a true appreciation for it and to truly care about it. But overall, what would you say to folks who think that they live in like a high property value area? Not think, but they know they do, like LA, Southern California, who think that they're priced out, that they think that, hey, there's no way I could get a VA loan because the property values in my area are way too high. I mean, is there a ceiling on that?
No. So on VA, one of the other misconceptions is that there's a county loan limit and you can't go over that county loan limit. There's several misinformations within that, or what people believe within that statement. Some, because on your certificate of eligibility, it says 136,000, and that was the original. Okay, back when it came out in 1944, that was the original loan amount, and instead of the VA changing it on the certificate of eligibility, it's become a formula now, which I don't teach that formula because We'll let lenders stick to that. You can still go over county loan limits, and county loan limit only comes into play if you're going to use your VA loan again and you're keeping your previous VA loan. So let's say you bought a home in LA and you want to keep that home and rent it out, and you still have the VA loan on it, and you want to go buy a home in Santa Barbara. That's when county loan limits come into play. But even then, you can still go over the county loan limit. You just have to come up with a 25% guarantee of the overage. Okay, so the VA guarantees 25% to every lender. So if you foreclose on a home, that lending company gets 25% of that original loan amount. So original loan amount. So even if you lived in it for 20 years and you don't owe much on it, the lending company still gets 25%, plus they get to sell the home with today's value. And that's why rates are lower on VA, because it's not as big of a risk for lending companies. That's why VA does that, is because they want to make sure lenders aren't doing VA loans. But anyways, to answer the question about like high property values in certain areas and really being scared about it, you know, majority of the time when people tell me that, oh, I'm priced out, I can't afford it, a lot of them actually can. They just don't think that they can. And I'm like, well, how much are you paying a month? And this is a conversation I just had this week. I'm like, how much are you paying in rent right now? He's like, $5,500. I was like, $5,500? I was like, man, my mortgage payment's not even $5,500. And he was in Bakersfield, so home prices are way cheaper in Bakersfield. I was like, man, you can get a pretty decent sized house for that amount. But even if people don't qualify, or they're not up to the loan amount that they want, so let's say they only get approved for $500,000, but they want to be in the $800,000 range. Most lending companies, well, the bigger the lending company, the more likely they're just going to say, hey, you don't qualify, and they're going to kind of kick you to the curb, because, you know, they got way too much stuff going on. We're going to sit there, we're going to go through your credit, we're going to go through your income, and we're going to get you on a game plan to get to the level that you want. Or, hey, man, you didn't make a payment for the last 3 months, that's okay. We're going to get you, next year, let's work on your credit for the next year, get it up, no late payments. We're going to get you on a game plan. And most people, I would say on average, are only 6 months out. Well, if it's an income issue, perfect. Okay, I only make $20 an hour. Guess what? Let's get you to a different job that's making you pay more if you're wanting to. Obviously, if you love where you're at, that's one thing. But if you're willing to make a move, man, go on use government jobs. Go on there. A lot of them are paying way more than that. Like around here, I'm like, dude, Vandenberg Space Force Base. Right here, we have SpaceX. We have all these companies out here that are hiring good. And then we also have Diablo Nuclear Power Plant. I'm like, man, go work security. Starting pay is like $175,000, or I might be a little exaggerating there, but it's six figures as starting pay. Like, you go work out there, boom. The second you get that job, or you get that job offer letter, contact me. We're getting you into a home because we just got your income up. So most people are within range. Every once in a while, I get the one where, they're making minimum wage and they're living in Newport Beach.
Yeah,
you're going to have to move if you
Right.
really want to buy. Like, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But we're going to be there every step of the way to help them.
Yeah, that's incredible. For folks out there that, from my understanding now, from my understanding, if you utilize a VA loan, it has to be a loan that or a home that you reside in. You can't just buy this for investment property. Is that correct?
Correct. So the key word that the VA uses is you must intend to utilize the property as your primary residence for at least 12 months. Now, you're going to hear lenders out there tell you there is no 12-month requirement. You're going to hear others that say it's more. The reason you're going to hear people say that there is no 12-month requirement is because of that word intend. You must intend to occupy the property. I had a Vietnam vet that purchased a home up here next to Camp Roberts, and somehow during the whole process, he didn't realize that he was moving in where they practice firing tanks. And he was only, I think, 2 weeks in at the time, and they started their summer training, and his PTSD just went through the roof. We got him out of there and into another home within 45 days, and the VA has no issue with that. Now, if they see you keep doing that, it's mortgage fraud. They're going to know, like, oh, you're clearly doing this for investment opportunities. This is not what the VA loan is geared towards.
Right.
But there is a way to start real estate investing with the VA loan. I always tell those on active duty, every place that you go to, if your unit obviously allows you, if they're going to give you BH, I know my unit would never allowed me to go live off property if I wasn't married. They didn't allow that. Here's Vandenberg. There's not enough housing on base, so they paid BAH to majority of the airmen or this, I don't know what you call them, space cadet. They're not space cadets, but anyways,
Aliens.
those in the Space Force. I tell them, buy a home here. And then when you PCS somewhere else, buy a home there. And when you PCS somewhere else, buy a home there. And then when you're getting out at 15, 20 years or however long you want to stay in, at that point, you don't have to go work. You're making money off the rental properties. And then you can get more into that as well. So there's several people. There's actually a really awesome group on Facebook. I'm not sure if they're on other platforms. I'm on their Facebook page. It's called Military to Millionaire. And one of their focuses is utilizing your VA loan to own multiple homes. The guy who founded it, I forget what the numbers is, but he has millions of dollars worth of property now. Again, I wish I taught this when I was in. I wish I taught it when I was getting out as well. They never did. When I was ETSing, they literally said, I got so excited because like, ooh, VA loan class. We walked in, waited 20 minutes for to come in, and they go, hey, the VA loan is not through the Department of the VA. It's through a private mortgage company. Have a great day. And they walked out. I was like, at the time, I'm like young and dumb, right? So I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to go home now. So I go back to my unit. Awesome. I get free time. But they don't teach it. And so that's why there's people like me who are out there who are really hammering it hard to change the lives financially for our military.
Yeah, I actually had a buddy of mine, Javier. He was a special forces guy, did 20 years, and he did just that. Like when he retired, he had five properties that he was
amazing.
renting out. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and I wish I had
And you
that.
can also buy up to a fourplex. And so that's why I tell a lot of these guys, I'm like, hey, we can take that income. So you have to live in one of the units. So we're going to take those 3 other units and help qualify you, because you're like, oh man, I can't afford a fourplex. I'm like, well, we're going to send an appraiser out there. He's going to appraise what you think you can get, rent from. And then if you never rented before, it's only 70%. So if it's $1,000, we only can use $700. But that $700 is going to your pre-qualification now. And so, yeah, you could potentially afford that fourplex or triplex or duplex, whatever. And that's a great way to get into it. I have one, I won't really call him buddy. I know him through the industry. He's a veteran real estate agent as well. And that's what he did. He goes out and buys fourplexes, and he retired, I think in July, and he went and bought a 50 apartment building or room, whatever. That has 50 apartments in it. I mean, also you can't use a VA loan with it, but he built up such a big portfolio at that point. He was able to go buy 50 apartments. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's not the greatest part of the country. I think it was up in Flint, Michigan, I think is where he bought it, but he's got income coming in from 50 people all of a sudden.
Wow.
And it's amazing. And he did all that utilizing his VA. Again, he didn't use VA to purchase that property, but because he utilizes VA loans with all the other properties, it got him to that point to purchase that property, which is really cool.
That's amazing. And I always tell people that if you go into the military and you manage yourself properly, you can walk out of the military with your bachelor's degree, possibly your master's degree. You can walk away not even having touched your VA education stuff. And the same goes for this. Like if you utilize your benefits, you can walk away from the military as a property investor across several different properties. And it's all about managing your benefits and managing yourself. So for the long-term view, and that's
correct. And your TSP account.
Right.
The one thing that got me into financing right away is I grew up, because my mom was in the real estate side of things. I grew up in '08. I watched our family suffer and be extremely poor during those times because we had no income coming in. And so I started, we went through Dave Ramsey's class. So I started teaching Dave Ramsey. I don't agree 100% with everything of Dave Ramsey, but when it comes to debt payoff,
right,
that's an amazing platform. But then I started teaching the TSP. How do you utilize your TSP while in the military? But majority, I can never get people really into these classes I was teaching on Fort Hood because everyone would be, I'm not going to live to 40. Why do I even care? I'm like, no, man, I'm serious. I ended up getting about 50,000 in there before I got out. And I don't have it anymore because it ended up saving my butt. I don't recommend doing this, but 2023 was really when on the lending side it got insanely bad, and we just had a baby and wife wasn't working. Anyway, I mean, it's a whole long story. So I had to cash it out to get through, but it saved us, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And I'm very grateful I did it during that time period to save us in the future. But if you don't, if I kept that, I mean, that money by 6 years old is millions of dollars. And so it's like, put money in your TSP, get your education. I mean, and the education doesn't have to be, college. You can
Right.
go to a trade
Hmm.
school. If you want to be a plumber, electrician, or welding, they also offer that. At least I don't know if they still do, but I know when I was getting out, they were offering auto mechanic training, welding, and IT, if I remember correctly. And welding, I got denied. My unit, brand new commander came in. He actually canceled my orders to go to that welding class. But I had someone who went through it, and now he works out here at SpaceX, making $350,000 a year, and he's only been out there for a year and a half,
Man.
and no prior education to that. Only served one contract in the military. And sorry, I say I like this bad thing. That's what I did. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But what my point was is that he did that, took that training there at the end of his contract, and now look at him. He's making a ton of money being a welder on the launch pad. It's really cool.
It's all about proper management. And I'm glad you underlined the trade school thing because that's huge, man. Like I have two master's degrees,
Mm.
and because I come from a time where it was all about college, college, college. I got out in '07. Man, I wasn't even thinking about that. But if I could go back, I would love to get like HVAC, electrical, certification to just kind of make myself a little more laterally mobile, like professionally.
Mm.
And I guess I could now, but I utilized all my GI Bill for that stuff.
Yeah,
And
there's
just,
a guy that I served with in the reserves over here in Bakersfield, and
Mhm.
he was working for a why am I drawing a blank? AC, AC and heating.
H, yeah, HVAC.
HVAC, thank you.
Yeah.
HVAC. He was working for that company, and we brought in a small business loan, a guy who specializes in the veteran loan, not home loans, but he specializes in small business loans for veterans.
Mm.
Came to a class, and that was probably 2 years ago, and he owns his own company now, and I think he has about 25 or 30 employees and a building and just killing it, especially on the AC side because he lives in Bakersfield. So.
Yeah, anywhere here in Southern California or mid
Yes.
California, you need that. So yeah, it's all about spreading awareness, man. That's why I'm glad I got you on the show today, Robert. And just to make things clear, if somebody is interested in taking advantage of the VA loan, they could come see you directly. You can do the lending, you can do
Mhm.
everything.
I can do everything. If they just want to learn right now,
Right.
just hop on. I actually don't have any classes up right now. I take December off because my December classes, I wasn't getting anyone to attend in person or even on Zoom. Yes, on holidays. I totally understand. Plus, we get so busy with our Veteran Angel Tree program that I'm not able to do it anyways. But I will start it up again in January. But if people are like, hey, I want to buy in January, we'll just schedule an appointment together and I'll just teach them one-on-one. It's faster that way too, because when I have a bunch of people on, I go through the whole class. When you come on one, I ask you questions like, hey, were you in the reserves or the guard? Oh, you weren't? Okay, I'm going to skip that portion. This portion doesn't really fall into your camp. Now, some people want to learn anyway, so they can tell people about it because they know people, who fall in that situation. But yeah, I can do the loan. I can do the education for you. I post on social media all the time. And then, I love here on the Central Coast just being a resource where really with anything veteran related. It can be, oh, I'm struggling with PTS or I need help filing VA disability claims, all of that. I mean, we have connections. We host veteran resource fairs almost every month. Not me personally, but I work with the VSO office and other organizations who put it on. I am actually going to be putting it on my own a few times in 2025, but those are also pretty much every month. Either it's in San Luis Obispo County or Santa Barbara County, and all the resources are going to be there as well. It could be the burials we're talking about. It could be, I want to go golfing with other vets or go surfing or go
Right.
horseback riding. I mean, there's all of these resources to get out there and do things as a family or get the actual help that you need. So I love being that resource here on the Central Coast. But a lot of it, again, we get calls all over the country asking for resources too. I always get messages, and it's not hard for me to typically research for them. But if they can't, I usually tell them, I find another organization in the area and I say, hey, please contact them because they're local. They're going to know more than what maybe my Google search is popping up.
I'm so glad that I got you on the show, man, because you are fairly local to me, and I do want to be more. I do get questions about like who in LA or who in the Southern California area do you know, dot dot dot. And so thank you for coming on the show, and I want to give you an opportunity, man, to talk about Operation Angel Tree.
Yeah, so my first nonprofit, Welcome Home Military Heroes, we started off just doing the welcome homes at the airports, train stations, all that. The very first one was very awkward. I was 16 at the time, and it was literally my mom, my dad, and myself, and we took the American flag down. And so there's like these three random strangers there going, welcome home. And now the nonprofit has expanded a lot. We have 12 different missions within Welcome Home. That includes care packages. We send about 24,000 care packages. We do veteran vehicle salutes because of COVID. And we started about 7 years ago, the Veteran Angel Tree program. We had a local business who was putting up a Christmas tree for children or seniors. I can't remember what it was for, and it wasn't going well. And they were like, well, maybe I can do veterans. So they contacted us. And I'm a yes man. I mean, I'm trying to stop that. My wife wants me to stop that, but I was like, okay, let's take it on. And so we started off with one tree. And what you do is the community comes together. We put tags up of veterans who are in need. You know, it doesn't matter if it's just for a short period of time or it's been a long period of time. If they're struggling right now, we're going to help them. And so they give us a list of what they want. It's never a laptop or a flat screen TV. It's always, I need a grocery gift card. Can I get a gas card? Because I'm having to walk to work because I can't afford gas. Or I need boots. Or can I get a bike so I can ride to work? It's stuff like that. It's actually very humbling to see these tags. You know, every once in a while we get something like an air fryer or something like that. And we have people who will go out and buy it. But the community comes together. So we put them up on the tree. Community grabs a tag. They go purchase it. And then they return it. And then we wrap it and we distribute it to the veterans. We're up to 8 trees, both, we have them in Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County. This year, we wrapped 1,300 gifts, and it blew up. So those 1,300 gifts helped 425 veterans. So a lot of them were, I can't afford gifts for my kids. What can you guys do? And so, a lot of those kids were given 2 or 3 items for, and then we're given the grocery gift card on top of that, or a Target gift card on top of it. But the years prior, we were in the 200 range, and it just, boom, bumped up to over 400. And I think it has a little bit to do with the economy. I also think it has a little bit to do that this is getting out to the media now. I mean, we were on our local KSBY news 4 or 5 times in a 10-day period. And so it was just like people were getting hammered with it. It's just a very humbling experience. I mean, we have 40 plus volunteers that come into it. I don't do much with the program. And what I mean by that is I do all the marketing stuff, get the news there, do the social media stuff. And then I just kind of oversee operations because we have a committee chair who runs that, just to see, I got super teary eyed. Like when we started dropping off, we work with 6, we call them partner agencies. So they're either another veteran nonprofit or they're a government entity. So it can be the VA, VASH, Good Samaritans. Now I'm drawing blanks on the others' names. We have an organization up here called Cap Slow, and they have a veteran department. They do most of the vetting for us, so they make sure they're real vets. They make sure that they're actually a veteran who is struggling right now. We work with the VSO offices in both counties to get names of veterans as well. So we're expecting this to blow up even more. We're going to open up a new tree in Santa Barbara next year, another one way up in Paso, which is the most northern part. I mean, we're talking I think it's like a 200-mile distance between the two. I actually think it's more than that. And I have volunteers who will pick up anything and go help wrap, deliver tags, pick up those gifts. We work with the Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association to honor these businesses and these trees. We do like a Veteran Angel Tree ride now, and we drive around to all the locations. We got Santa with us. It's just It's an amazing program, and not 2024, but starting 2023, my dream was always to take this program year round. And what I mean by that is, no, we're not putting up Christmas trees all year round. It was, I want to continue helping veterans who are in need all year. And we had an amazing fundraiser at the end of 2022 to finally allow us to go year round, and we're still able to do it. So we work with a lot of these government agencies or nonprofits that house veterans. So when they house them, they need a couch, they need a microwave or a bed to sleep on. And we get the community to come in to either purchase it, donate it. And if they don't, then we go out and we'll purchase those items. So that's actually called Veteran in Need, or Operation Veteran in Need. And then Operation Veteran Angel Tree falls right underneath that program as well.
Wow, there's so much to collect here, man. And you're
Yes.
total inspiration, man, because I want to definitely put this in the show notes. Everything that you've mentioned here today, and how to contact you and everything for our community. And like I said before, man, the best part of my job is I get to talk to inspirational folks like yourself to help spread that awareness for our community out there.
Well, what's crazy is that's only one of the 4 nonprofits. So
that's insane.
that's just the one. I'm with Honor Flight as well. Do you know what Honor Flight is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I'm Honor Flight Central Coast. I'm the vice chair for here. But I'm getting to a point in some of these organizations where I'm kind of just overseeing, and then I kind of just show up during the fun times. Like I'm not afraid to admit that. I feel like I've gotten to a point to where we've gotten these organizations to that point where we have amazing volunteers. I can just kind of like oversee it, be the one that goes out and does the talking or the speeches when I get asked to go and talk on behalf of these programs. And so that's probably my favorite thing. Honor Flight, oh my gosh, like be able to travel to DC with these veterans and see their emotions, on the wall, going to the wall or going wherever. And it's just, I recommend anyone who's listening to go as a guardian, to get on a flight, be a guardian for a veteran. Be a World War II, Korean, or Vietnam veteran. It's an amazing experience. I get teary-eyed on every single trip, and I've probably been on 10 or more. Every single one's different. You always have an amazing story that you get to hear from someone, and you get to sit down at least for us, we do allow drinking at the hotel. And so then I always go out, and a few of us go out and buy the drinks for all the vets, and we get to sit there and just hear their crazy stories, whether that was in the military or their life after the military.
Yeah, man, there's just too much to talk about, man. I'd love to have you back on the show, Robert, to
I love that,
to talk more about some of the other things that you're involved with as well, and spread that awareness.
Yes, I would love that. I love talking. I mean, you probably can tell, I love talking about all this stuff, especially, I love talking VAs too, but I definitely love talking about the nonprofit side of things as well. Or even people contacted me to speak on behalf of their organizations as well now too. So, and I do all of that for free, kind of. Usually when I go to those places, they provide me free food. So I guess I get something out of it, but
yeah, as it's well deserved, man. Because definitely, if you're using your time and energy, they need to be at least feeding you. So
yes, well, I think it's like, you and I are younger. A lot of these organizations, you typically, when they're coming in, they're a lot older veterans coming in and speaking, and I think a lot of them get shocked when I show up. Especially, I'm 31 now, but when I was in my 20s and I was showing up to do these things, everyone was just like, "What the heck?
Yeah,
you're the one coming in. Are you the right person?" I'm like, "Yes." Now that I'm getting the gray in my beard, people don't quite question me as much anymore, but it's fun. I love it. I get it. I've gotten to travel. I'm down actually in LA or Orange County often. I've taught a few classes down there as well. I plan on doing a few more classes down there this year. So I've got to travel. I've gotten to meet amazing veterans. It's so cool to be able to help them when they get denied on something, or they get told that they went to a certain organization and they, for disability. And I ask them what process they went through. And I'm like, "So you didn't provide a letter, you didn't do this, you didn't do that?" And they're like, "No, I was never told to do that." I'm like, "All right, let's get you to an organization down here, or your local VSO office. Make sure they actually get you."
Yeah, it's all about the connections, right? And the networking.
It's all about the connections. Yes.
Yeah. So, hey, man, listen, let's do another show together. I would love to talk more about the other stuff. And for anyone that's listening to this podcast right now, please go down to the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, go down to the description at the bottom. You're going to find how to get a hold of Robert and to link up with him, connect with him, find him on Instagram. You're still on TikTok, right?
I am, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Until it's
So
banned, I guess.
until it's banned in January, right? So we'll see what happens with that. But Robert, thank you so much for your time today, man. I really appreciate all the information, knowledge, and all the work that you're doing for our community.
No, thank you. I'm very honored that you asked me to come on, and of course, thank you for everything that you're doing and getting the word out. Well, I've followed you for a while, so seeing the people that you're getting on the podcast and getting their story out as well is really cool.
Yeah, man, no doubt. I love doing what I do. But for everyone else out there, make sure you follow Robert, find him on social media, connect with him. He's definitely a huge asset to our community. And as always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.